The first shot missed. Laughter rippled across the concrete shooting bay like a wave of cocky arrogance. Young recruits, dressed in crisp uniforms, nudged one another as they watched the old man reload his rifle with slow, deliberate hands. "Guys, probably here to sweep the floors," one whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. The old man didn't flinch. His boots were worn. His jacket, a faded windbreaker from another decade, hung off his shoulders like it remembered a younger frame. Liver spots marked his hands, a slight tremble in his fingers. No name badge, no rank, just a quiet, gray shadow standing on the line where warriors were made or humbled. Point one SEAL instructor stepped forward, eyebrows raised. "This is not a tourist stop," he said, arms crossed. "Who signed him in?" The range officer shrugged, said he was cleared for the course. They looked again. The old man had lined up another round. The first time anyone really noticed him was when the third shot hit dead center. Then the fourth. Then the fifth, splitting the previous bullet in half. Silence spread across the bay like cold fog. Heads turned. Fingers froze. The recruits stopped grinning. He kept shooting. Calm. Methodical. One shot after another. And every single one found home. But this wasn't just a lucky streak. Because behind those steady eyes was a lifetime most of them could never imagine. His name was Raymond Hawk Hensley, though he hadn't gone by that name in years. Once, a SEAL, always a SEAL, but after the explosion in Kandahar, after he carried 3 wounded men across enemy lines with shrapnel in his spine, Raymond walked away from glory. Not because he couldn't still fight, but because war had already taken enough from him. His hearing, his friends, his sleep. He buried his team one by one, watched their wives fold flags, held trembling hands in VA waiting rooms. He never talked about it. Not once. For 20 years, he lived alone. Volunteered at the range sometimes. Cleaned rifles others had forgotten. Helped rookies line their scopes. Never asked for thanks. But today something pulled him back to the line. A quiet challenge. Not spoken, but felt, like the ghosts behind him whispered, "Let them see." Raymond exhaled. He didn't need to prove anything. But the scars on his back had stories. The burns on his arm had meaning. And the trembling hands still remembered the rhythm. At the 10th round, the recruits stood frozen. Is he breaking the record? Someone muttered. He was. The SEAL range record stood untouched for 12 years. 50 rounds. All bullseye. Never done in under 2 minutes. Raymond hit 52. In 1 minute and 49 seconds. No celebration. No fist pump. He placed the rifle on the table like it was sacred, then turned to leave. But something stopped him. Every single recruit was standing at attention. One told them to. They just knew, because in that moment, they weren't looking at an old man. They were looking at a legend wrapped in silence. Point one instructor finally spoke, voice low. "Sir, permission to shake your hand." Raymond hesitated, then nodded once. The handshake was firm, quiet, like 2 battlefields touched for a moment, and understood one another without a word. They thought his silence was weakness, but silence was the only thing strong enough to carry what he lived through. Another recruit spoke under his breath, eyes still locked on the departing figure. "I've never seen someone do more by saying nothing." Raymond didn't stay for photos or praise. He walked off the range, past the steel doors, into the dusty heat. Alone. But something different followed him this time. Not footsteps. Respect. Later that day, the SEALs etched his name beneath the record board. No ceremony. Just 5 quiet words. Painted in black, he spoke through his aim. There are people who fight wars, and then there are those who carry the weight of them long after the battle ends. Raymond didn't need a uniform or medals to prove his worth. His silence carried more power than a room full of noise. Where are you watching this from? Comment below if you've ever met someone whose silence spoke volumes. And subscribe for more stories that honor true silent heroes.